All right, good evening and welcome to the City of Woodstock's public planning meeting for June 16th. Tonight's meeting is an open public meeting as required by the Planning Act. This meeting will be live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording of the meeting will also be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agendas, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website. This meeting is for information and discussion purposes only, and no decisions will be made this evening. The council will make decisions on these three applications at the regular council meeting to be held this Thursday. If you wish to address council at that meeting, you must submit a delegation form to the city clerk no later than 12 noon tomorrow. A delegation form is available on the city's website. If an application is denied, only the applicant or the minister may file an appeal with the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of issuance of the notice of council's decision. Only specified persons, public bodies, registered owners of land to whom the plan may apply, the requester to amend the plan, and the minister may appeal the decision of the City of Woodstock to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the issuance of the notice of council's decision. Excluding the minister, any party wishing to make an appeal must make written or oral submissions to county at a public meeting. Please note that third parties or anyone who is not a specified person or public body do not have the right to appeal a decision for the official plan amendment to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Please keep your comments to planning meetings matters only and avoid repeating comments that have already been expressed. If you have not provided oral or written comments but wish to receive formal notice of council's decision on the matter, please contact the clerk's department. The notice will provide further information on appealing the decision. The planner will be asked to present the planning report for each application. The applicant will then be able to provide opportunity to make comments following anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application, followed by anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application. But prior to proceeding to our first application this evening, does anyone wish to declare a pecuniary interest on any of the three applications tonight? I'm not seeing any, so let's get to application number 1, B 25-18-8, application for consent, Denise Houseworth. Mr. Miller, the floor is yours.
Good evening, council, staff, members of the public. The subject lands are described as Part Lot 14, Plan 213, as in 458207, in the city of Woodstock. The subject lands are located on the west side of Dover Street, north of Walter Street and Parkinson Road, and are municipally known as 132 Dover Street. The subject lands are designated low-density residential in the county's official plan and are zoned R2 in the city's zoning bylaw. The purpose of the application for consent is to sever a vacant lot into two separate lots for the purpose of establishing a single detached dwelling on each lot. The lands were previously occupied by a single attached dwelling that was demolished in 2024 after extensive damages occurred due to a house fire. With respect to the PPS, the proposal is consistent with the intensification, redevelopment, and housing policies, as the application is considered an efficient use of land and municipal infrastructure within a service settlement area, provides a diversity of housing types, and represents appropriate density for the new housing that makes efficient use of existing municipal services. With respect to the relevant official plan policies for low-density residential areas, staff are of the opinion that the proposal can be characterized as appropriate street-oriented infill development and intensification that is supported by the official plan. This area of the city is characterized by a variety of lot sizes and built forms, including infill developments, townhouses, single-attached dwellings, and semi-detached dwellings, and the proposed lot to be severed and proposed lot to be retained will not be out of character or inconsistent with the surrounding area. Staff is of the opinion that the proposed lot configurations are reasonable and will provide an adequate building envelope for single detached dwellings on the lot to be severed and retained. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed severance is a form of street-oriented infill and is consistent with the policy direction of the PPS and the official plan and can be supported from a planning perspective, subject to the recommended conditions 1 through 6. And staff recommend that City Council advise Land Division Committee that the city supports application 2B-25-18-8 submitted by Denise Houseworth for the subject lands described as Part Lot 14, Plan 213, as in 458207 in the city of Woodstock.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from council for the planner? I'm not seeing any. Is the applicant here and do you wish to speak to your application? Mr. Burke, if you would name an address for the record.
It's Mark Burke, 28 Wellington Street North in Woodstock. Just here to answer any questions, any nuances that aren't necessarily in the report that you'd like to know.
Any questions for the applicant, for Mr. Burke? I'm not seeing it.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? No one online? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Again, I'm not seeing any. So we will proceed to our second application tonight. ZN 8-25-04, application for zone change, Z Modular Woodstock, Inc. Mr. Miller.
The subject lands are legally described as Plan 1613, Part Lot 10, Registered Plan 41R 3678, Parts 1, 2, and 23 in the city of Woodstock. The lands front onto the west side of Ferguson Drive on the southwest corner of Parkinson Road and Ferguson Drive and are municipally known as 140 Ferguson Drive. The subject lands where this application relates to are designated high-density residential in the county's official plan and are currently zoned R49 in the city zoning bylaw and are being requested to be rezoned to R3 in the city's zoning bylaw. The application for zone change proposes to rezone the subject lands from R49 to R3 to recognize the conditionally approved application for consent B2485-8. The boundary adjustment was conditionally approved on April 3rd, 2025, and provides an 8.3 meter deep strip of land in front of the existing apartment on 550 Parkinson that is currently paved and provides access to a small parking area to the south of the building. So if you look at plate 2 that I have here up on the application, if you see in the south side here, there's a laneway that services this building. So this property is providing it to that building so that they own the access to that laneway, which they currently don't. The laneway enters onto the adjacent property. As the proposal would promote an efficient use of existing infrastructure, a mix and range of housing, planning staff are satisfied that the proposed development is consistent with the policies of section 2.2.1 of the PPS with respect to residential uses within designated settlement area. That boundary adjustment provides a narrow strip of land to an adjoining existing apartment development. The transfer of land reflects the existing use of the subject lands and provides ownership to an existing laneway and development. The rezoning is not associated with any proposed new physical development and is required to have the severed lands and benefiting lands consistently zoned. Planning staff are satisfied that the proposal is consistent with the PPS and meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan respecting residential uses within high and medium density residential designations and can be given favorable consideration. As such, staff recommend approval of the application.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Are there questions for the planner from council? Mr. Schadenberg, sorry, Councillor Schadenberg, my apologies.
Really, as a point of clarification, Mr. Miller, I guess that the best question would be to sort of say, was that land, I mean, obviously the land's already existed there, but has it just, the 550 Parkinson owner, has he been using the land out of convenience to be able to access this extra little laneway at the far end of the 550 building? And now he has to take possession of it because there's more of a formal use next door?
Through the chair, I don't know. I would assume that. But the intent of this application is to provide them with that access to make it legal. Like, I don't know if there's not an easement in place for him to use it, but he has been using it that way. It looks like because you can't access that laneway in any other way.
Other questions? I'm not seeing any. Is the applicant here and do you wish to speak to your application? Not seeing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Not seeing any. Let's move on to our third application then. It is ZN 8-25-03, application for zone change. Kenneth?
The subject lands are described as Part Block B, Plan 179, Part 1, 41R 9164 in the city of Woodstock. The property is located on the southeast side of Frederick Street between Van Sittert Ave and Piddock Park Road and is municipally known as 62 Frederick Street. The subject lands are designated low-density residential in the county's official plan. They're currently zoned R113 and are requested to be zoned R244. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property to facilitate the construction of a semi-detached dwelling house with additional residential units. The applicant has requested a minimum frontage of 8.3 meters, where the R2 zone requires a minimum frontage of 9 meters. Minimum frontage requirements are established to ensure sufficient space is provided for a building envelope for the proposed development. In this case, the applicant has provided a sketch showing the proposed semi-detached dwelling on the subject lands within the requested frontage. Further, the reduction is a minor departure from the zone provision and is similar to developments previously supported and approved within the city. The applicant has also requested a minimum side yard width of 2.8 meters. Minimum side yard widths are intended to ensure that sufficient space is provided for access and normal maintenance of the rear yard. 3-meter side yards are semi-detached dwellings are specifically intended to provide off-street parking opportunities where dwellings do not have garages or carports. The applicant has shown garages on the sketch, and those garages are also required to provide the adequate parking for the ARUs. Thus, an alternative minimum side yard is not required. Where dwellings have attached garage or carports, the minimum side yard is 1.2 meters. Further, the applicant has requested an increased parking area of 65.6 of a front yard or exterior side yard to be used for a parking area. This coverage is required to accommodate extra parking spaces for intended ARUs. Where ARUs are not present, the maximum coverage for a parking area is 50%. Where ARUs are present, the maximum coverage is 65%. So we're looking at a 0.6% increase. Maximum parking area provisions are intended to ensure that adequate space for grading, drainage, servicing is provided in the front yard. It is also intended to provide opportunities for off-street parking and attractive streetscaping. Staff are satisfied that the requested 65.6% is a minor departure from the zone provisions for a dwelling with ARUs, and minimal negative impacts are expected from the increased driveway width to accommodate required parking for the proposed additional residential units. Planning staff are satisfied that the proposal is consistent with policies of the PPS and meets the general intended purpose of the official plan. As such, staff are of the opinion that the application can be given favorable consideration and recommend that the city approve the application.
Thank you very much. Questions from council for the planner? Mayor Accioni.
Thank you, through you to the chair. Mr. Miller, the driveway, because we're asking for an extra width, does that mean we'll be able to fit 4 cars in essence? The drawing shows 2 in each driveway, but is that the idea of the width to allow for more?
That, I believe that is the idea of the width. So yes, it shows 3 cars in there, which is what you need for an ARU in each unit. They've requested 0.6% more just to make sure that that's achievable, which is a pretty minor departure from what we permit in the ARUs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Schadenberg.
Maybe not a planning issue, but Jeremy, because it's in your report, I have to ask you about it anyway. So Mr. Miller, the question from the Oxford County Public Works about the water pressure, does that necessarily mean that at present, there's a suspect that there's a lack of water pressure for this to have 4 residential units on this one lot?
Through the chair, it's not specific to this lot. I think it's specific to the entire area of that subdivision. I think the way gravity works, there's not a lot of pressure, so they all have their own grinder pumps and things like that. And to support new development, more work than is typical in this case needs to be put in. There will be added costs associated with that, and I let their planner know that when the comment came in, so they should be well aware of it.
Any other questions for the planner? I'm not seeing any. Is the applicant here? Do you wish to speak to your application? And if you can state your name and address for the clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Manny Chauhan. I'm the principal planner with G-Force Urban Planners. We operate about from Mississauga. The address is 2800 Skymark Avenue, Mississauga. Through the chair, I'd like permission to present a presentation, a recorded presentation that I'd prepared. If I have the permission, I could start that.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
This PowerPoint probably?
Is it the one of these?
Oh, this one.
MP4 one? The MP4?
Good evening, Honorable Chairman, members of council, staff, and respected participating public. My name is Manny Chauhan. I'm the principal planner with G-Force Urban Planners and Consultants working out of Mississauga. I'm here to represent my client and the owner of 62 Frederick Street for a zoning bylaw amendment application to permit a semi-detached dwelling on the property. I must apologize that I'm not there in person and I'm representing myself through this particular presentation. Thank you. Next slide, please. So the proposal seeks to rezone the subject property from residential zone 1 to residential zone 2. This will enable the development of 2 semi-detached residential houses, each with 1 additional residential unit. The proposed semi-detached dwelling will be 3 stories, include an additional residential unit, and will require severance. Next slide, please. So this slide represents the site statistics. As far as the lot area, lot coverage, and the landscape open space goes, we do meet up with the current zoning bylaw standards. For the interior side yard, the lot frontage and the driveway width, we will be seeking special provisions to be added to the application for a zone change from R1 to R2. So our R2 application will have these special zoning provisions. These are minor in nature, and I'm sure with council wisdom, we would be able to see these get approved along with the zoning change. Thank you. Next slide. This slide provides some background information to council staff and the public. The property itself was severed in 2014. A 41R plan was prepared and registered on title, after which all the conditions were cleared, and finally there was approval accorded to the severance, and it was then registered again on title on June 11, 2015. The property was sold in 2022, and my client bought this property. He then asked G-Force planners to make an application for a zone change to permit semi-detached houses on this property. And this application was deemed to be completed on April 15, 2025. Thank you. Next slide. This slide provides a bird's eye view of the vacant lot, which is now 62 Frederick Street. On the left, the image shows that it was actually severed from the property on the left, and it represents the same lot size and area of all the other lots that are prevalent on this particular street. That image you can see on the right. Thank you. Next slide. The official plan land use designation for the subject property is residential. One of the objectives related to residential in the official plan relates to facilitating the efficient use of existing housing stock, underutilized residential parcels, which is basically the vacant land we're talking about, to accommodate the future demand for housing, and to reduce energy consumption, efficiently utilize municipal services, and to maximize public open space opportunities. The site was severed long back in 2014. Since then, it is just lying vacant, and it was sold in 2022. The present legislature actually calls for intensification and infill, which this particular application will represent a very humble form of infill and intensification, but we will be providing additional housing stock which is a much needed thing at this point of time. Thank you. Next slide. So apart from the objectives and taking a leaf from what the official plan permits with regard to infill and intensification, the official plan actually permits semi-detached dwellings in low-density residential districts. R1 is a low-density residential district, but it does not allow townhomes. And whereas R2 is also in a low-density residential and it does allow townhomes, which is why we are now making a proposal to amend the zoning to permit the semi-detached dwellings on the vacant land. The official plan also advocates a mix and integration of different forms of housing. So while we have the single detached homes which are pervasive on the street, we are also looking to have a different type of housing, which is a little bit more dense than the single detached, but still represents low density housing on the vacant land. So the official plan also tries to achieve a low overall density of use. So by the infusion of a semi-detached, two semi-detached homes on the property, we believe that the overall density of use will not be impacted to any large extent. The official plan also advocates residential infill on vacant lands, and it permits additional residential units. Thank you. Next slide. The City of Woodstock zoning bylaw does not permit semi-detached homes to be built in an R1 zone. However, they do permit semi-detached homes to be built in an R2 zone, which is why we made this application to convert the zone from an R1 to an R2 for the vacant lot on 62 Frederick Street. This particular application we made for the zoning change is in line with provincial and planning policies, which do advocate more densities, infill, intensification, a good mix of housing types, optimization of infrastructure and services, and it falls in line with, I believe, the City of Woodstock's requirement of meeting housing targets to a very small extent, but we have made the effort to make this application so that it would contribute in a small way to the City of Woodstock's housing stock, as well as provide the necessary infill that is required for this property. Thank you. Next slide. As mentioned earlier, we will be asking for zoning special standards related to the side yard setback, the lot frontage, and the driveway width. Normally, if we had a frontage of 9 meters, we would be able to have a driveway width, which would be 65% of the lot frontage. But because there is a reduced frontage of 8.38, the reciprocal effect would be on the driveway width, which instead of being 65% of the frontage, it would now be 65.63. The other setback is for the side yard, which is 2.88 meters. With the reduced lot frontage, giving a 3-meter side setback would have affected the livability and the layout of the unit itself. Since we are going to sever the lots, it would then reduce the living areas within the particular unit, both in terms of functionality as well as from a design perspective, because we need to fit in the indoor garage and take an entrance from the side of the garage into the building. We also had an ARU, which we intend for each of the semis, so that would require us to have a longer driveway to fit in additional cars for the units. And therefore, we've reduced the depth of the units. So to compensate slightly for that, we have asked for a 2.88 meters as against the 3-meter side yard setback. Hopefully the council will deem it fit to approve these special standards. Thank you. Next slide. The County of Oxford official plan supports residential intensification and encourages infill and intensification to optimize existing infrastructure and promote affordability. And the official plan promotes the housing policies by providing additional residential units within the existing urban areas. Thank you. Next slide. Similarly, the proposal actually aligns with the provincial policy statements. It optimizes land uses, it promotes efficient development, encourages development, and it also provides an appropriate range and mix of housing types and densities within a built-up community. Thank you. Next slide. Engineering staff have reviewed the application and provided some comments. We agree to all of those comments. Thank you. Next slide. We are proposing inbuilt garages within the semi-detached dwellings. As a result of this, we will be providing a 1.2 meter side yard setback, and the width of the semi-dwelling units will be 7.18 meters. This will bring up the overall lot coverage to be higher than 41%. However, in discussions with staff, we have decided to keep the lot coverage at 41%. So there will be a slight reduction in the lot coverage from what we are seeing on the site plan. Thank you. Next slide. In closing, we wish to state that the zoning bylaw amendment application represents good planning, aligns with provincial and municipal policy objectives, and contributes to addressing local housing needs. We respectfully request that the City of Woodstock consider this application favorably. Thank you. We would like to bring on record our thanks to council and staff for processing this particular application and allowing us to speak and represent before your good self today. We are here for any questions and would be happy to answer any one of them. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Sorry, would you have something you'd like to add?
Thank you, Chairman. Through you, I'd like to clarify that we are asking for a 1.2 meter side yard setback. There is a change that was sent in the new revised presentation, but I believe I could not put that on. The other thing was Councillor, you had asked for the drive width. I guess the 65 point above the 65% is only because we have a smaller frontage. So that's why we have an increase of 65 plus something. So those are the two clarifications. We did talk to Justin and we did talk to Erin sometime back, and they were not in support at this late stage for a increase in lot coverage. So we are dropping that.
Thank you. Any questions? I'm not seeing any. That was a very thorough presentation. You've answered a lot of my questions. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If you would like to come forward and name and address, and then we can get that on the record for the clerk.
Hello, councillors. I'm Zach Holmes. I'm at 60 Frederick Street next to this proposed lot. Please forgive me. I've never spoke at a council like this, but I just wanted to express a few concerns about the proposed application. It was a very thorough presentation. I'm not an engineer, but I would just like to express my concerns regarding what's not shown in the images is the change in elevation between my yard and the proposed yard. There's about 4 to 5 feet of grade change with a retaining wall, as you can see in the first photo that was there. And I have some concerns with the amount of frontage or lot coverage that's going to be on the proposed lot, with how that's going to impact drainage onto my property, with it covering a large percentage of the lot. So that was one of my concerns. The other one of my concerns has to do with the uniformity of the neighborhood. So the speaker mentioned that this would be a little bit more dense than the area. If you look on our street, Frederick Street, as well as the surrounding streets, there's actually no semi-detached homes, let alone a semi-detached home with multiple ARUs. So I'm a little bit concerned about how that will fit into the neighborhood, as well as the parking concerns with 4 units fitting in a lot that he mentioned was the same size as the surrounding units. But now he's putting 4 times the number of residential units in one lot. And that's going to lead to parking likely right in front of my house and my neighbors across the street as well, who I've discussed this with. So that's a concern of mine. Obviously, I have personal concerns around how it's going to impact my property value and other things as well, which I'm not here to complain about, but I think the complaints I've made are valid, and it's also clear that there's been a lack of maintenance on this property for the number of years, and I don't think the proposed plannings have anything to do with actually increasing property availability, but it's an investment, and it's been clear with a firm that's not even from the area. So I just wanted to express my concerns, and I don't think I have anything else to say on that, other than, I guess, actually one other point was with the widening of the lots, where the elevation changes, I'm concerned about, with it only being 2.2 meters, how that's going to impact my driveway as well. So thank you for your time.
Before you leave, are there any questions from council? Mayor Accioni.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Mr. Holmes. Thanks for coming here and speaking to us and asking your questions. It's always better to come and hear the information. I do have a question on the parking on this street. Unfortunately, I'm not that familiar with
Yeah.
Frederick, and I apologize, but is there currently allowed parking in front of your house along that stretch of Frederick? It just seems close.
I'm not sure. No one really tends to park on the street there. There is actually quite a bit of through traffic through to Piddock
Yeah.
Park Road. And when there are cars parked, and there can often be kind of people coming both ways. But I do, like, there is, with where the lot is, there'll be the driveways. There'll be no road parking there, but in front of my house, my driveway is quite narrow towards the lot size. So I presume that's where there'll be parking. But I'm not sure on like the bylaws around if they're allowed to park there or not, actually.
Any other
Actually, I
questions?
would, yeah, if I can continue on, Chair.
Please do.
Actually, maybe go to Craig. Would you know and be able to tell me if there's parking allowed right in front of there? Would you know that or have access to that
Madam
quickly?
Chair, no, offhand, I don't
Yeah.
know what the parking
Yeah,
prohibitions
I'll
are
drive
on
by there.
Frederick Street.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. I'll drive by there, because the idea being, and I appreciate that with the widening of the driveways to allow that extra traffic to be in the driveway at least,
Yeah.
but, definitely. And again, I'll drive by there tomorrow, but, I can imagine your concern would be fair
Thank you.
for any parking nearby, but we'll take a look.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm not seeing any. Thank
Thank
you. Is
you.
there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Sorry. Do you have something to add in addition or not to rebut? If you want to step to the microphone.
Thank you, Chair. Just to bring it on record, we do have an 11-meter driveway, which we purposely kept so that we could have the cars parked on the driveway and not on the streets. And we've also provided staff with a grading plan, an FSR, and engineering drawings to support our particular listing. So any elevation difference between the properties will be taken care of. And I'm sure there won't be any drainage on any other property but ours. So we
Thank you.
looked into this pretty well.
Thank you. All right, this concludes our business for tonight. Before we call an adjournment, I want to say thank you to council for the opportunity to chair for the last couple of months. It's been a pleasure. And I pass the baton on to Councillor Schadenberg for the next couple of months. And I want to thank you, Mayor Accioni, for filling in the February meeting for me. I really appreciate that. And so with that, a decision on these items will be made at the council meeting on Thursday. And I will ask for a mover to adjourn the meeting. Councillor Wismer Van Meer, seconder. Counselor Leatherborough, and all those in favor? We are adjourned.